Değerli misafirlerimiz tekrar merhaba. Şimdi Keynote konuşması yapmak üzere İmaj ve Strateji Tanıtım Şirketleri Onursal Başkanı Sayın Betül Mardin'i sahneye davet edeceğim. Kendisi konuşmasını İngilizce yapacak. O yüzden simultane tercüme cihazlarını kullanabilirsiniz. Onu hatırlatmak istedim. Distinguished guests, our speaker will make her speech in English. So this is a reminder for you, Honorary President, Image Public Relations Turkey, Ms. Betül Mardin. Bu arada bir ufak hatırlatma da yapayım. Betül Hanım'la çok fotoğraf çektirmek isteyen vardı. Konuşmasını yaptıktan sonra burada sahnede olacak. Kendisiyle fotoğraf çektirebilirsiniz. Teşekkür ederiz. Buyurun Betül Hanım.
Sağ olun. Beni duyuyor musunuz? Herkes geldi mi? Herkes gelsin evvela. Dışarıdan kimse kalmasın gelecekse içeriye ki konuşmacıların şeyi değişmesin. Are you very hungry? You start lunch at the proper time, don't you worry. Okay. Kapıları da kapatır mısınız lütfen? Nasıl sert bir tarafım var değil mi? Kapıları kapat. İyi değil mi bu ses? Bu ses nasıl? Tamam. Bütün kapılar. Orası da. Tülin, hepsini. Evet. Sevgili dinleyiciler. Dear guests. My name is Betül Mardin. Mardin is the name of a city near the Syrian border. And I would like to talk about myself and how I became whatever I am, the difficulties that I faced in life, and how a Turkish family treats a daughter. My talk today is titled, A Tree Grows in Turkey. My clay was molded in the hands of God with certain ingredients. The scanner was painted, and I was born. Evet, anladın değil mi? And I was born 86 years ago as the second daughter of the Mardin family. On my father's side, we go back to our prophet Muhammad. His daughter Fatima, as you remember, married Ali, who was one of the first to convert to Islam. They had two sons, Hassan and Hussein. First Ali, the young man, the imam, was assassinated. Then one after the other, the two sons were killed. I will not go into the historical details. They're pretty bad. My family descends from Hussein. They left him to stay in a place without any water for 53 days. Hesitancy is definitely among other distinct characteristics of the family. Hesitancy. For the next 8, maybe even 10 forefathers of mine were undecided to leave Mecca. We should go. Anything can happen. Rumors are flying around. But not before our grandson grows up, or not before Aisha gets married. And life continued until 400 years later, the family moved north to Damascus. Rose gardens and all, still dangerous. Therefore, 400 years later, El-Said, El-Imam Ali, took the family and his small army further north. From this story, which I was told when I was very young, comes a positive reaction from me. I never hesitate. You say one thing to me, I answer at once. Nowadays, as I'm getting older, I usually say, talk to my secretary, and that's it. You must never hesitate. You must come to a point where, when you grow up, you do not hesitate. Because that means you know what you want. If you don't have an aim in life, then you hesitate. You're not supposed to hesitate. That's my first lesson today to you. Never hesitate. Anyway, there I was. My family by then was called El Azraq. Azraq meaning blue, not green, sorry. The sons of the blue, Azraqizade. Hence, they wore blue, carried blue banners, and even their horses were covered in blue satin. The king of the Selçuks, Artukoğlu, was standing on the citadel of Mardin, looking over the plains, when one of his aides said, "Sir, a river is approaching." And there they were, the Azraqis on camels covered in blue, horses covered in blue, they themselves covered in blue, all of them coming towards Mardin. So, they thought it was very funny, and they said, let's take the river in. Now, in Turkey, when you take a river in, you start at once to cook for them. There were big cauldrons on the citadel. They cooked for them rice with meat, and everybody had fun, and they danced, and they sang. What do you think happened? Naturally, they took the girl, and they gave her to the Mardin family. So there was a marriage. Because of the marriage, there was a dowry. Now, when I read my family tree, I thought it meant land, 27 pieces of land. I said, of course they're going to stay in Mardin, 27. Later on, my father said, that's not a land, darling. They were given 27 houses. Can you imagine? You're getting married. 27 houses were given to them. Naturally, this time, no hesitancy. They settled down in Mardin. The 13th century, they came together around the table. They put their hands on the Quran. And they vowed that they would never go into politics. Now, is that strange? 13th century, this family, who hesitated a lot, came on one principle: no politics. I personally have added 2 more to politics. I would never go into politics, 1. I would never go into any work that supports arms. And 3rd, cigarettes. In Turkish, they all start with an S, and I say, I've got 3 forbidden S's. Siyaset, silah, sigara. I will never. You thought that was funny? I'll tell you one thing. I've been very happy. That much I can say. I sleep very well at night. No politics, I'm sorry. I can't. So sorry. So, anyway. So, 450 years to go to Mardin and stay in Mardin. 600 years later, the family moved to Istanbul. My dear, can you imagine the hesitancy they had? Shall we go? Shan't we go? Shall we go? 600 years later, they only were judges and they worked for law. When they came to Istanbul, the last one who came was called the judge. So we did prove that we were good in Quranic law. Not bad. Later on, we had to choose family names. I'm sure that nobody in this room except me remembers, because I was alive and I was a small child. Big discussions took place. What shall we take as a family name? Atatürk ordered us. He said, choose a family name. Okay? Big hoo-ha. At the end, we decided, my family, to take the word Mardini from Mardin. Now, imagine the president, Atatürk. sitting at a table. And all the names that have been taken by the Turks come to him. You don't have anything else. Nobody has typed it. There isn't anything like that at the time. We talk about handwritten lists. And he goes over them. Now, I wonder if today, because I'm not in politics, I can't say it, they would do something like this. He goes over each name and he says, tell the Mardini family to remove the I. I give them the city, Mardin. So, since 1934, our family has been called Mardin. Please go back, and if there's anybody my age in your family, ask them how you got your family name. Because it really is fantastic. Now, we live in a century where Arabic countries still go by their father's name. And if there's anybody here from them, I'm telling you, tell your man to go into this law. Because one has to have a family name. That's it. Because you live and work for the honor of your family name. Don't you? I do. And I applaud everybody who has a name and works for the name. A name of the family is the biggest treasure you have. Don't ever forget that. So anyway, there we are. Let's go to my father's mother's side. I'm telling you all these things because I want you to go down and write your own family history like this. They came from Kavala. This is my father's mother's side, which is now Macedonia or Greece. When the uncle went to war against Napoleon in Egypt, the small family in Kavala expected some news, and the news came that he had become the king. Muhammad Ali from Kavala was the king of Egypt. We were related to him through a nephew. So, decided to go to Egypt to be with the family. His son was a gambler, a womanizer, somebody who lived all his life in France. I'm just going to give his name to you because I'm sure that nobody here knows him. But once, when you go to Louvre, you will remember him. His name was Halil Sherif. He was the first Turkish admirer of foreign art. And he became the man who took care of Offenbach, Ingres, Delacroix, Corot, and Corbeau. He had 104 paintings done by them when the Ottoman Empire invited him to become the Minister of Foreign Affairs. But they wrote to him, don't you dare bring those paintings of women half naked. So he had to sell them. 100 of them were sold. 4 of them, we don't know what happened to them. 104, 104 missing. We still don't know. So from a man who originally came from Mecca and a woman who originally came from Paris, my father was born and he lived almost all his life in Egypt. On my mother's side, life was simpler. Her father was the son of a sheikh of Islam, meaning the Pope of the Muslims. He was simply called Mullah. He was governor of Baghdad, minister of justice of the Ottomans, and later the major shareholder of all the ferry boats on the Bosphorus, Şirket-i Hayriye. I just want to say to you one little story that he told us when I was very young. When he was appointed as minister of Baghdad, he couldn't believe it. He was so proud of it that when they came to meet him on the river of Tigris, where they were going to take him to Baghdad, they were rowing, you see. And he was there, standing with his turban. He said to himself, my God, he said, you're only 28. You're already the governor of Baghdad. This is fantastic. What will happen to you when... And one of the bridges hit his turban and he fell into the water. He used to say to us, please, don't ever brag You never can tell in which water you'll find yourself. So, try to be modest. I mean, people can be governors of Baghdad, but still, a person is a person anyway. So, as the Minister of other things, to the family, I was born as the second daughter to the Mardin family. The disappointment was so great that my mother fainted. She almost died, and I was not given a name for days. There I was. Eventually, my mother's father, the mullah, opened the Quran, put his finger on a line, and up came the name Maryam Betül, which meant Virgin Mary. Virgin, too risky. They called me Fatma Betül. My Egyptian grandmother said, stupid, ignorant Turks. What will happen when she's pregnant? Because all around the languages around me, my mother spoke German, my father spoke English and Arabic, my grandfather spoke Turkish, and this went on and on. I was dumb. I simply couldn't speak. I was 6, not one word. Eventually, when I spoke, I chose French, and I spoke only French for many years. Those years, we still had Atatürk as our guide and leader. At my grandfather's house, the dinner table was set for 24 people. Every evening, my grandfather would take the salt shaker, put it somewhere, which meant from there on, nobody talks, listens, which meant us, of course, the babies. So I couldn't talk, but I could listen and learn. Poets, writers, philosophers, historians, celebrities of the time were the guests, and I remember them well. One day, somebody came, one of the butlers, and said to my grandfather, somebody. So he got up, he excused, he said, I'm very sorry, please go on eating. Somebody wants to see me. So he went in. 5 minutes later, he came back. When he said, everybody said, what was it? He said, never mind. It was the postman who has been assigned to a job in Erzincan, which is very far away from Istanbul, naturally. And he said he wanted me to talk to somebody in the ministry so that he would not go to Erzincan. Okay. So around the table, people said, what will you do? He said, nothing. Get on with your food. That was the moment I vowed that if anybody asked me for anything, either I will say no, or I will do everything I can. That's why, when this is finished, you're all coming here when we take a picture together. Okay? I was asked, there you see, you must never hesitate, and you must never lie. If you can't do something, you've got to tell people you can't do it, and that's it. Değil mi efendim yani? Cotton grew in Egypt. The early 30s hit the bottom. We moved to grandfather's house, and my father found a job in a bank. When winter came, I wore my cousin's coat to school. He was a big boy. I was very small. That's when I vowed that based on unknown reasons, one could become a beggar. I should be good and known in one branch of work so that I would not suffer these crises. At school, I started to speak hesitantly, but I was winning the race. And every morning, when everybody began the day by promising his very own existence to the service of the country and the nation, I joined in with my enthusiasm. How many of you remember these morning sessions? Did anybody here ever? Bu yemini hatırlıyor musunuz? Her sabah yemin ederdik. You see, you don't. This was Atatürk. Every morning, we used to vow that our existence really meant being part of the nation. For 5 years, every morning, during 9 months, we repeated this pledge, which means 4,500 times I said, all I have is yours, Turkey. I promise to do my best. I will work very hard. And Atatürk listened and smiled. We did not say that men and women were changing here and there, but not in the Mardin family. Yes, there were women working in the bank with my father, and he spoke of them with respect, but they were not members of our family. We knew of one woman lawyer. We thought she was slightly Allah. After Atatürk died, I don't think the following presidents made the same impressions on the students. Did they really listen and thank us when we're presenting the country with our souls? No. With a primary school behind me, I attended the American College for Girls. The Second World War was raging. My father had been assigned to a job in Egypt. We joined him very often, but always came back to Istanbul. We were 3 by then. An older sister, me in the middle, and a brother, Arif Mardin. At last, a boy. He was our pride. But he didn't ride horses like a Bedouin, nor did he have a falcon on his arm for hunting. No, music was his world. My eldest sister was beautiful. Boys fell in love with her. She was hesitant. Mardin, she was hesitant. I was a brilliant student. I could give speeches, take part in debates, edit the yearly college book, worked in charities. I wrote in my diary, God, give me work till my life shall end, and life till my work is done. I had already started research into university possibilities in the US. I thought I could be a good psychiatrist. It was 7 years, but all the time. Cotton price had gone up. We were doing fine. Father was working for Castrol in Turkey. A young man asked for the hand of my sister and was categorically, absolutely refused. This was the first time I heard of the Mardin family's principle on marriage for the girls. Better be dead than married. To get married, you had to elope. 9 months after the refusal, she died of tuberculosis. My sister was 19, I was 17. My mother came to my room one day and said, we have an ultimatum for you. You leave school at once. We have no intention of losing another daughter. We'll be surveying you constantly. You have to stay at home. It was my last year at college. The negotiations continued during the night. I never talked to my father. My mother was the intermediate. Now, I would like to stop here and say, did my father really say all that was reported to me? Or did my mother add a few words? After all these years, I'm now certain that in Turkey, it is really the mother who is the power behind the throne. Digging, scratching the deep-rooted fears and jealousy a man can have for a daughter, so that even if he will suppose certain objectives, no, the mother will convince him otherwise. What am I trying to underline? Women in Turkey seem to be pushed out of the family decisions. First the father-in-law, then the husband seem to be the dictator of the husband. But once alone with his wife, roles change, and he listens to all the worries she has over their children. Remember the incredible women of the palace? The power behind the throne? They were the ladies. Tomorrow's morning, mother and I agreed on plan B. I would complete the year as a day student and drink my milk with honey every night. University was out of question. No man was allowed to sit next to a girl from the Mardin family. No, disgusting. It was about the same time that I heard my grandfather advising a businessman. At one of his famous dinner tables, they instigated my philosophy of life. Now listen to this. If you cannot achieve your goal, it is easier to insert the tip of your shoe into the gap and wait. The door to success will eventually open. So I put the tip into the gap and graduated from college because that was the first thing I could do. When I graduated, negotiations began once more. No. What are the other options? No. Yes to only one. Cooking, sewing. That you can do. For 6 years, can you imagine? I learned how to sew a dress, how to make a bag, how to cook. Okay, now, today, I'm very good at cooking. I'm very good at forming menus. I can do big parties, small parties, whatever you want. Dinner for 8, dinner for 10. I'm good. 6 years of it. But you see, one has to get whatever you can from whatever you do. You have to grab all the possibilities and hug them, because that's what makes you later on. Okay? Now, I fell in love I had to wait for 4 years until they said yes. I could have been better dead. It was, again, the traditions. When I put on my finger of engagement ring, I suddenly realized that my husband was no different. No, he said, of course you can't work. No, he said, of course you can't go to the university. Everything that my father had said, or really my mother, he was saying to me. I was allowed to give Turkish lessons to British and American expatriate wives. No money. 3 years later, do you know what happened? Abdul Nasser died. We lost everything we had in Egypt. I'm so happy we did. Revenue stopped. Allah Allah, my husband needed some money. So when I said, can I work? He said, yes, you can. Find a job. Can you imagine? I'm 26. Another time, if we meet, I'll tell you how I found my first job. But anyway, I started working for a newspaper, Tercüman. Now we're talking about 1952. Really go back up a lot. I'm 86. I mean, you've got to realize that. So anyway, I was very happy. First, I started as a translator. Soon after, I became an editor. I got a divorce. 2 years later, I worked briefly as a press officer at the USIS. I was only 28. When you work for a newspaper, I'll tell you one thing. You never forget those days. Because, you know, I know that some of you work for the press. It's so, what shall I say, inspiring to be there, to watch, get the news, and then report it. I don't know, I like it. So anyway, where are we now? We're almost finished, you know. I'm sorry I'm going to leave you. Maybe some other time. Oh. Second husband was a genius in the theater, still is. His name is Haldun Dorman. Turkish people would know him. And he's also an ex. I asked, he said, no university, of course. But you can give assistance, he said, in the theater on one condition. Your name will never appear on anything. So I took my daughter's name. Then I worked once more on a newspaper. And when I was 36, I had a background in journalism as well as the theater and the cinema. I was invited to join the newly formed Turkish Radio Television Corporation, TRT. Anybody from TRT here? I love you. I was chief producer at Turkish Radio. In fact, I received the title expert, uzman. At 39, I was sent to BBC to do a course on television, which we didn't have, and returned with a group of teachers to Ankara. I changed my name to Mardin, and I started building up the name as a brand. My name is Mardin, neighbor of Diyarbakır, or Urfa. My name is Mardin. Sounds like Saint Martin. I'm not a saint, and that's why the T is a D. For 40 years, I've never answered the phone in another way. My name is not understood, especially. For a woman, it takes a long time. At last, I was exactly 40 when I was offered a job at Akbank, but I couldn't understand what they wanted from me, and the chairman could not either. He said he dressed somewhere. This was a new profession, and it was vital to all managements. I went home, did some research, and found it was called public relations. I've never looked back. I just want to add a detail before I leave you. The year I started public relations, one of the deans of the Istanbul University paid me a visit. He had written to the BBC to ask for a lecture in radio and television programming. The answer had been, if you know Betül Mardin, you don't have any problem now, do you? This was 44 years ago. I started lecturing at the university on radio and television, went on to public relations in 1973, just a mere 40 years ago. I received some fantastic awards from the PR managements, associations, and the one I adore is something I would like to tell you before I leave you. I was given one of the most fantastic awards in the world, you know. So I said, well, who chose me? They said, It was a big group. There was an American, there was a French, there was a German. I said, but they don't know me. I said, could you please go into this a little bit more, because I want to know. And the answer came back. There was a German gentleman who lived in San Francisco. That's where they had the big meeting to choose the name in the word. And he said, you're going to choose this woman, I'm going to give you the name, Betül Mardin. They said, why? They said, we know her, but why do you insist? He said, I'm not leaving this place until I know you've chosen her. He said, what? He said, I lived near Izmir, in a little village. I was the GM of a big factory. We produced German stuff. For 5 years, he said, I was there. Nobody ever visited me, except this woman who knocked on my door, came in and said that she was there opening another factory about 2 kilometers away, and that's why she wanted me to have this invitation for the opening, and I sat down and a cup of coffee. He said, 5 years I was in Turkey. She was the only Turk I ever met. She gets the... So there you are. Sometimes even that helps. So, next time you're home, go around and think who you have not visited lately. Like me. Good day. Good day. When I said, when I started working at the university, I sent a letter to my father, who was in Egypt, telling him, after 28 years, I'm at the university. No man is sitting next to me. They are sitting opposite me. Was that nice? Now,
anybody who wants to have a picture with her, because she's very popular, may come to the stage. But before that, we're going to have bir plaketimiz olacak. Plaketi bekliyoruz. Sayın Betül Mardin'e konuşmalarından dolayı çok çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Alkışlıyoruz kendisini. Biraz önce de belirttiğimiz gibi kendisiyle fotoğraf çektirmek isteyenler için burada olacak, daha sonra ayrılacak. Programımız öğle yemeğinin ardından saat 14'te Aile ve Sosyal Politikalar Bakanlığı Kadının Statüsü Genel Müdürü Özlem Bozkurt Gevrek'in Türkiye'de kadın girişimciliği başlıklı keynote konuşmasıyla devam edecek. Afiyet olsun demek istiyorum. Yasemin Hanım, evet, sizi de plaketi bekliyoruz. Evet, evet, lütfen. Tabii ki bir hatıra fotoğrafı, plaket. Evet, plaketi bekliyoruz sahneye, lütfen rica ediyoruz. Ortaya doğru alırsak fotoğraf için daha uygun olacaktır. Böyle alacağız. Önce bir plaket verilsin, ondan sonra sahneye alalım. Oh, sorry, we're going to first present... First, we're going to, sorry, before the pictures, we're going to present a gift, so we want to leave the stage alone for just 1 minute. Geldi mi? Tamam. Okay, if we can give you us 1 minute, please, we're going to give her, yes, please, yeah, please, thank you. Koltuğu bir saniye can we leave the stage free, please? Can we leave the stage free? Can we go down? Thank you. Later, please, later. First, no, afterwards. Can we leave the stage alone? Sahneyi bir boşaltabilir miyiz? Bir üçlü fotoğraf sakin alınacak. Evet. Stage for a while. Şöyle alabilir miyim? Bir sahneyi boşaltmak istiyorum ama... Sorry, one moment please. Thank you. Teşekkür ediyoruz. One moment please. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz Betül Mardin'e. She's all yours now on stage. Thank you. Fotoğraf için sahneye alabiliriz.
Tabii.
Hey,
Değerli misafirlerimiz, öğle yemeğimiz başlamıştır. Değerli misafirlerimiz, öğle yemeği için sizi salona rica ediyoruz. Buyurunuz. We are waiting for you for the lunch.
Dear ladies, it's lunch time. We are waiting you in the lunch restaurant.
Evet, galiba öyleymiş. Ben fark edemedim. Neyse, ay tam başlıyorum, bir şey olmuyor. Ha, öyle mi? Tamam. Ben ilgileneceğim hepsini.
Dilan Hanım buyurun. Fatma Bala buyurun. Siz mi galiba?
Kızmayın bana ne olur. Benim önce yalnız kaldı çünkü. Korkuyorum biraz. Teşekkür ederim. Biraz artık öbür tarafa. Ya da hemen. Sonra. Kayhan.
Herkesi çekiyorum maşallah. Hadi buyurun.
Artık çek. Tamam mı? Bitti. Teşekkürler.
Buyurun buyurun. Buyurun. Siz de meşhur oldunuz. İşiniz az gider biraz.
Ben arabayı çağırdım.